Side 2 begins with the title track, Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. Now, this is the one that most people are no doubt familiar with, not just because it's the title song, but because it's their breakthrough song, their first big hit, the one we all remember. Becoming number one in the US Billboard and number two in the UK singles, this song had made a significant boost of popularity for Eurythmics back at the start of 1983. Part of that could also be due to its equally iconic music video, featuring one half of the duo, Annie Lennox, being as androgynous as you might expect, with an orange buzz-cut hair, dressed in a fancy business-style suit, and wielding a cane. That sense of cross-dressing androgyny would likely be complemented, if not coincidentally or not intentionally, by Queen a year later with a music video of their song I Want to Break 3. Though that one was more or less meant for a joke, poking fun at soap operas at the time like Coronation Street and EastEnders. Although, to be fair, Sweet Dreams' own video features a lot of cows wandering about in a field and around a business room. So, what's to take seriously about that? Now for the song itself. Among all the keyboards and equipment utilized to make that distinct robotic melody and make it the way it sounds, the other half of the duo, David Stewart, produced the percussion sounds with the Movement Systems drum computer, which even appeared in the music video itself. As for Annie's simple and memorable lyrics, they seem to comment on the music industry at the time, and Annie's and Dave's experience and overall feelings with it, especially after their previous band, the Tourists, broke up. It's a warning caution about dreaming of being a music star or celebrity in general, how such a sweet dream would become reality, and what may happen from there on. Who is she to disagree? She travels the world in the seven seas. This is speaking from someone who has had years worth of experience in the business, likely having travelled all around the world, whether to play at concerts, sell and promote records, make deals, etc. Some of them want to use you, get used by you, abuse you, and be abused. Bringing up how many people out there either want to exploit or take advantage of others, mostly out of a motive for mere profit and nothing more, or are even willing to be used and exploited by higher-ups as long as it means getting at least 15 minutes of fame. And in one section, Annie says to hold up your head and keep it up while you're moving on, likely saying you should keep yourself safe and aware of what may come of your choices, maintain a sense of profession and rationale, and always move on if things don't work out the same as they should have, if even at all. And it's pretty deep for such a track like this, and that's probably one of the major reasons why this title track remains one of their most famous, if not their most famous song. And following up such a great and iconic track, we get the 5-minute mellow synth-pop ballad, Jennifer, which starts off with a faint sound of ocean waves, similar to Fresh by Daft Punk. Soon we get a deep tapping synthetic melody as well as Annie's euphoric vocals as she sings about a girl named Jennifer, repeating her name, vaguely describing her orange hair, her green eyes, and her dress of deepest purple, and asking where she is tonight. Orange hair, green eyes, and a purple dress. Is this really about a Jennifer, or is it about Daphne from Scooby-Doo? Then, within the middle of the track, Annie sings Underneath the Water, likely connecting to the ocean sound at the beginning. However, if this is meant to be the answer to the question she asked just before then this may imply that not only is this Jennifer found underwater, but she would have likely drowned by now. And there could be some inspiration behind this, and I do mean could. According to a few sources, including an apparent biography or autobiography about Lennox herself, One part of the inspiration came from a boyfriend that Annie once had and was with at the time, who eventually passed away beforehand. Whether that was from a drowning incident or not is still left unconfirmed. And the other half of such inspiration came from watching an old black and white film adaptation of Shakespeare's Hamlet, most likely the 1948 film by Laurence Olivier. And speaking of Hamlet, it also does remind me a bit of the Ophelia painting by Sir John Everett Millais. And in the last minute of the track, we hear what sounds like a guitar screeching and shrieking its strings out, like a swan singing its last song before it eventually fades out altogether. This music piece alone is like a new age track, like something Ennio or Paul Hardcastle could make or something. Then This is the House, and this is a weird song to say the least. At least as weird as Eurythmics songs can and are. As we're immediately greeted with bizarre bleepy sounds like we're in a 70s sci-fi film like Logan's Run or Westworld, before we hear a female voice, possibly Lennox, speaking in French, itself followed up by the horns of Dick Cathell again. As Innie sings that, this is the house, this is the hill, this is the story, it's a little thing, which is what the French dialogue at the start actually translates to, interestingly enough. The song goes on to mention vague and random phrases that one might see in a house like this, such as a lock of hair, an invisible smoke trail, nothing there but the dust and the rust. I guess those chemtrail conspiracy theories were incorrect. They don't come from the sky. They're coming from inside the house. Think about it. Other things she mentions include your picture in black and white, the family having a party, a crack in the ceiling, and an open door. And that's what happens when you don't unlock your doors, especially while you're partying in one room. Someone's just going to break in, ruin your nicely done ceilings, and they're going to get away with it scot-free. This is the House is likely about the mundaneness of the everyday normal family house, how boredom may cause us to pay more attention on rather tiny, trivial, and specific, non-important details and all. Then perhaps I may recommend checking that strange house next to the base motel. Some really weird stuff going on there. Psychotic. Afterwards is Somebody Told Me. Not to be confused with the killer song of the exact same name, although considering Annie Lennox's trademark androgynous appearances, the line of "Somebody told me you had a boyfriend who looked like a girlfriend that I had in February last year" would strangely sound somewhat appropriate. This too has a rather ominous start as well, with that low, whirring synth as Annie repeats that somebody told her something about you, something she didn't or couldn't believe, and she's still reeling from it because she couldn't take the blow. That's right, she was told about your secret DeviantArt collection, and she is creeped out by it. There's laughter, love, and a lot of pain, which sounds like a fairly normal average date between the Joker and Harley Quinn. And Annie never wants to see your pretty face again. At least until you get rid of that beauty mark of yours, she's getting pretty jealous of it. Then we get a repeating of "oh well" from a rather monotone and almost robotic sounding vocalization, almost as if she's shrugging it all off as usual. Eurythmics' Somebody Told Me is a short, sweet, and strange, almost Kraftwerkian track in a way, if that makes sense. Not exactly dancey, but still memorable for how surreal it is. And so our album ends with This City Never Sleeps, the longest track on the album at 6 minutes and 40 seconds. And after the weirdness of songs like This Is the House and Somebody Told Me, we do get a more calm and relieving one to go out on. Inspired by the experiences of visiting and having to stay in London, Annie brings up how you could hear the sounds of the underground train, comparing it to distant thunder. and across the track, we could hear the sound effects of actual trains shunting by. She mentions also that there's so many people living in this house, and she doesn't even know any of their names. But does she also see a lock of hair and an invisible smoke trail? She comments on the walls being so thin, she can almost hear them breathing and feel her own heart beating. However, it's not what it sounds like. It just turns out the folks next door are really active athletes who like to work out constantly, regardless of how much noise they may make. And in the end, she guesses that it's all just a feeling in the city, already adapting and getting used to all these strange, weird, minor things and expected occurrences. And this goes on for quite a while. The music itself really gives off that lost and isolated feeling, like we're walking through these murky London streets late at night, hearing the tube stations below us. And while it all fades out completely, we get one last tiny thing to close things out on. A backmasked message from Dave Stewart, casually saying that he enjoyed making that their record. Very good, very good. And he would be very right in that statement, because I enjoyed listening to this record. It's very good, very good. Not just the title song, but most of the tracks here seem to generally have a consistent style and mood. And of course, thanks to the dominating synthesizers, the use of ambient sound design, as well as Annie Lennox and her beautiful vocals. The overall music is haunting and yet so relaxing and hypnotic. This definitely proved a change of direction early on for the band. And this album would, of course, soon find its own companion just at the other end of the year with Eurythmics' very next album, which I will likely and hopefully touch upon when that time comes. So, what are your thoughts? Do you think this album and its title track are Eurythmics' best, or do you prefer another album or song of theirs as your favorite? Feel free to let me know down below in the comments. Next time, we're going to blow up your video with another album by AC/DC.